My name is Evan, and I'm going to be teaching you how to use Google Firebase for your ESP32 project. So the first thing you're going to do is go to Google's Firebase, right? Just go to console.firebase.google.com with a Google account. Now for this project, I recommend creating just kind of a burner Google account. You're going to be exposing potentially some, passwords with your teammates that you may not want for your personal Gmail. So if you just set up a new Gmail, it's still free, it won't be a problem. So the first thing is you're going to want to create a project, and you can name it whatever you want. So if I call this like xLab storage, right? And simple as that, you create a new project. You can enable analytics if you do or don't want to. It doesn't really matter. Now that you're at the home screen, you're going to want to create a Firebase storage project. So if I come here and I click on storage and build, and now I hit get started and start in test mode, actually start in production mode, you're going to hit next, right? And then you're just going to pick whatever region's closest to you. So done. Storage bucket, the first thing you're going to need to do is configure authentication. So I'm going to go into rules, and I'm only going to allow reads and writes if auth not equal to null, right? Sorry, request.auth is not equal to null. Basically, that means if you have some user, then they can make reads or writes. I'll show you how to set up a user after this. So now you have this Google storage URL or URI, and basically you're ready to go. You now have a storage bucket for all your files. The next thing that you need is to have authentication. So you're going to get started, and you're going to want to just do authentication by email password. And you do not want to enable this email link, right? You don't want that. You just want email password. I'm going to save, and I'm going to go users, add user, and you can actually write whatever you want here. So if I have like burner xlab email at gmail.com and the password is password, I can add this user, and now there's a user for our storage system. Critical thing to look at is getting your API key. So if you come to the settings icon here and go to project settings, you're going to need this web API key right here in order to ensure that you have access via the Arduino. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to interact with Firebase using Arduino. So the first thing is you're going to need this Firebase Arduino client library for ESP8266 and ESP32. I think this updates pretty often, so I wouldn't worry if you're getting a newer version than this 4.4.14. So once you download that, come to your code, and your code should look something like this. So first, you included all of your SD code, your SD libraries, as well as your Wi-Fi libraries for the ESP. Next, you're going to include these three libraries. This one is for the library you just installed, and these are two add-ons for this library that assist with, interacting with the SD card as well as authenticating properly. So to connect to Eduroam, that's just what I'm going to use here. You're going to need these few data flags, as well as just all the other settings for interacting with the WPA2 enterprise network. So the couple things you're going to want are that API key we talked about, the username and password, the user email and the user password that we set up in the authentication step, as well as the URL from the storage bucket in the Firebase storage. Now you're going to want to authenticate. You're going to want to have these three objects set up first. This one is your storage bucket, this is the authentication, and then this is just the overall configuration to make sure you can interact. These are just some data I've set up. So all of this can be found in example code for the library, but this is really what you're going to want to start with. So you're going to set the API key and your user email and user password to the authentication object, and then you're going to call this token status callback, which comes from this, again, like it says, add-ons token helper. And then you're just going to go and try and connect to Firebase using this code, and then finally have this SD card mounting method from the SD card helper library add-on. All of this stuff, again, just configuration for setting up and initializing with Firebase. You have to do it. This is all example code. I wouldn't worry about it. The two critical elements and things you want to be able to do with Firebase are read the files and write the files. So this top method up here, this is how you read the files. So first thing, you need to put this in a loop and always check firebase.ready. Typically, Firebase is interacted with asynchronously, so because that doesn't exist in Arduino, have to do it this way. The first thing that we do is we call this firebase.storage.list files with that data object as well as the storage bucket ID. This is just written in a way so that either I get an error or I get just like print OK, but basically I'm calling this method here to fetch all the references to the files on Firebase. And as long as I get a 200 level HTTP code, right, which just means things are all right, I'm going to get the array of files, this kind of file list, pointer files, whatever, don't worry about it, as well as the number of files, and I'm going to loop through every single one of those files and then just print the name and as well as print the bucket that it's in. We only have one bucket, so that's not really a big deal. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to clear out the files in case I want to perform any subsequent actions. And then to write files, all you're going to do is again call firebase.ready, and then the only file that you're going to do it, the only method you're going to call is this firebase.storage.upload, passing the data object, the storage bucket, the path to the file on your SD card, and then the fact that you're using an SD card, what you want to call the file on your storage bucket. You need a meme type, but we're just using text files, so it'd be text.plain. You could have text JSON, you could have images, whatever, and then this FCS upload callback. And then if that fails for any reason, I'm just printing out the error, but you need this FCS callback, which is some big example method that you can find online just to ensure that the upload was successful. And that's all that there is to it.